Welcome back to another episode of Soul Wisdom Transitions, where we explore the various stages of personal transformation and spiritual growth. I'm your host, Terry, and today we have a very special guest joining us. Please welcome Jennifer Clair, astrologer extraordinaire. I had a session with Jennifer just a couple weeks ago. Perhaps we'll get more into that during the episode, but Jennifer is a professional evolutionary astrologer and spiritual counselor. Her passion is helping people get in touch with their true nature through their birth chart. She has a bachelor's degree in equine science and certifications in nutrition, health, and wellness, and spiritual counseling. Jennifer found her profession in astrology after using it to guide her life for many years. Today, she counsels clients one-on-one and teaches classes online. If asked why astrology is so effective, she responds that astrology is the perfect blend of psychology and spirituality. What a lovely blend. It empowers us with self-understanding, guides us to make wise decisions, and empowers us with the knowledge of our inherent spiritual gifts. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jennifer.
My pleasure, Terry. Thank you for having me on.
I'm so glad we met and that I was able to glean personal information that you were kind enough to help me through a session and understand the unique language of astrology. It's you try not to be a deer in the headlights, but I can say from experience working with Jennifer, she really unravels things for you so that you can understand what it is that you're looking at and how that impacts what you're going through. So listed prominently on your website, on the homepage, is a statement, "Gain clarity with evolutionary astrology." Can you help us to understand what evolutionary astrology means and or if it connects with our soul wisdom?
Yes, I think it very much connects with our soul wisdom because evolutionary astrology is about looking at your birth chart as a way of understanding where you've been in a past life and where you're going to be in this life. So it can help you by giving you information that shows you these are the qualities you're here to develop and this is the path you're here to take. And then it also shows you at the same time what you've already done and where you've already been so you don't have to waste energy doing something that is not going to serve you in your highest evolution.
And you glean all that information just knowing my name, my birth date, and my birth time?
Yeah, it seems like how could I possibly know that, right? But if you have your
Right.
exact birth, yeah, I know but the study of astrology has been, ongoing for so many thousands of years, and evolutionary astrology is really about looking at the person, seeing how that you have free will and you can make your own decisions, but it also shows you your chart, and there's certain points on the chart that actually have to do with your life purpose. And so the astrologer focuses solely on those points to talk about life purpose. And then there's also other planets that have to do with other areas of your life. But yes, so the reason I can tell is because with your birth time and your birth location, we know where on the planet you were born and we know where all the planets in the sky were. And that becomes your astrological signature.
So that that is why when during my session you had asked me if I knew the date of my traumatic brain injury, and when I gave you that date, very surprising to me was that you were not surprised.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
because of
because
where in my chart it was like, oh well, yeah, of course it happened in September of 2009.
And the reason, Terry, is because that's when you had your Chiron return. So anyone listening to this who knows about astrology might know about Chiron. It's the wounded healer archetype, and it only comes back around to meet your natal Chiron every 50 years. So you were between 49 and 51 when you had your accident, and that was the exact time you were having this major astrological transit to your core wound of this lifetime. So that's why I could figure that out through your chart.
Okay, so let's figure that, the next, in 50 years, I won't have to worry about it because I'll be into my next lifetime.
No, and sometimes it's really psychological. No, no. It's really can be very much psychological, but for you, it was in a spot in your chart that had a lot to do with your actual physical brain, your mind happening. So everyone's different. That's why you have to really
Sure.
study a chart.
Yes.
I could never just throw out a generalization about Chiron until I look at the aspects, the sign it's in, and what house it's in, which is all just complicated astrology language, but there's a lot to it.
A lot to it, but it really does make sense once you have that chart in front of you. And what Jennifer does is take you through the planets and everything else, the nodes and other things that are in different astrological houses around the
Yes.
wheel of your chart, which is fascinating.
Hmm.
And I really enjoyed the fact that Jennifer holds your hand as you're going through the chart, so that you don't say, look at it and get overwhelmed and say, what? Which I'm sure I did at least once, but that's okay. So, your work focuses on helping individuals embrace awakening to their true self and embracing the true nature. You can pursue any path with more peace and authenticity. You include helping your clients answer the following questions. So, have you ever wondered what your purpose is? Of course. Have you ever felt at a crossroads seeking direction in life? Are you wondering if you and your partner are compatible? Would you like to build your self-esteem and feel more confidence in yourself? You are curious about what careers that would suit you best? And do you simply want to know more about yourself as a spiritual being? So I pulled that right off your website, which is really helpful for anyone who's wondering whether or not having your chart read would help them. Can you give us a little more information on those points? Obviously, not all of them, but
Yeah.
something you
Yeah.
can focus on?
Yep. So right away with any reading, I offer my clients a questionnaire so that I can figure out what they really want to know, because otherwise it can be extremely overwhelming and it can take hours and hours and hours to explain everything. And if they don't have a clue, that's okay as well. Then what I do is I look at the chart and go, well, what is really a strong aspect coming out? Or what are some points that are just so significant that they need to know about them? And then in that hour and a half time that we have to sit down together, I go through what I found, and then usually questions come up and we go down that rabbit hole. But ultimately, it's based on a questionnaire and what the person's intentions are. Otherwise, I do my best to explain everything I can in an hour and a half.
And also, just as an aside, after the hour and a half, Jennifer does send you a copy of all of the notes that she put together getting ready for your session, and also the audio file so that you can listen to it over and over again, just to get more clarity and understanding. So,
Yes.
have you ever found yourself in a difficult or challenging situation and heard or felt the soft whisper of your soul trying to give you a message? Did you choose to ignore it or shut it down and choose a different route because that's what expected of me? Or did you listen and find yourself on a completely different path?
I will say for this example, I listened. I haven't always listened, but for this example, I'm going to give when I just graduated college with a degree in equine science, and I really thought I was going to become a horse trainer. So I went on several internships, learned about different methods of training horses, And at the end of all of that, I realized this actually wasn't what I was supposed to do. And I had been so passionate. I mean, from the time I was 8 years old to, 21, 22, all I wanted to do was eat, breathe, and sleep horses. It was just constant. And so for me, I remember leaving one of the internships in Texas, and I was in a hotel room, and I sat down and I prayed, and I was like, okay, God, if this isn't it, what is? And it ended up being through my dad that I heard Spirit's voice. And sometimes it's funny, it's the people that are closest to us in life. And he suggested that maybe I apply to be a flight attendant for United Airlines because there was an ad in a newspaper one day, and he's like, "Well, you like to travel," and I really had nothing else, right? No other ideas, and I thought, well, it wouldn't hurt. So I applied, and I was one of the 1% of people who got accepted to fly. And then from that moment on, I realized, you really should start paying attention to signs in life when things come really easily, even though you didn't plan on them. You should probably think of that as this is the way I'm supposed to go.
Exactly, yeah, and you're so right from the aspect of you never know where the voice is going to come from. Sometimes it's the very quiet voice that you hear whispering when you're quiet, either meditation or just sitting alone or on a bus going somewhere, and you
Yeah.
just hear this voice. Sometimes it's the unexpected wisdom of a parent or a partner. And sometimes it's a literal whack upside the head saying, no, no, you really need to
Yeah.
go in a different direction. So you really want to listen to the whisper before it gets to the whack upside the head. And I can speak from experience on that one.
Oh, hmm. Yeah.
So can you, help us to understand or help me to understand how you went from United Airlines flight attendant to astrologer extraordinaire?
Yes, so I was always passionate about having new experiences in my life. So after the horses did not work out and I was a flight attendant, you can imagine I met a lot of different people. I traveled all over the world. And I was like, well, I don't ever want to stop learning. And I also at the time had an opportunity. I will say after I was a flight attendant, I worked at a natural grocer's because another passion of mine is health and nutrition. And one of the managers there did an astrology chart for me. And then he gifted me with a book that was very, very deep and informative. I didn't open it for 10 years because I didn't understand it, right? But he planted the seed of astrology,
Yep.
and that
Yep.
became another interest. And then skip forward even more, I have my own personal astrologer, and I'm in another crossroads in my life, and she suggests trying astrology. So I did. And now let me tell you, one of the core themes of my life is when I approach something with an attitude of neutrality, it works out. But if I'm too passionate about it, it tends to fizzle out. So I've learned you don't trust your emotions, you trust your feelings.
Ah, ah.
And feelings they're lasting, right? Emotions are fleeting, feelings are lasting. So if you don't act on it tomorrow, it's okay. It'll still be there next year if it's meant to be for you.
Exactly. Like the book you didn't pick up because you didn't understand it. It just wasn't the exact time that you
Yeah,
were open for something like that. But as you said, the seed was planted,
it sure was.
and when that little that little snippet of growth started coming up from the soil, you can say, "Oh, wait a minute. I've got a book on my shelf about this. Let's pull it off and see what it's all about." So, yes, spirit definitely plants seeds, and sometimes they don't germinate right away, which is fine, but they're there, and it will start to grow when spirit knows that you're ready for it.
And believe me, I felt ready for it when it came because I was almost, like, what am I going to do with my life? I've tried all these things. And my astrologer said, well, guess what, Jennifer? You can do everything you've done under the umbrella of astrology. And I realized how true that has been. And I'm so grateful for her guidance.
Oh, interesting. Can you explain that a little better?
Yeah, so I've always been a really spiritual person. I've just gone to many different types of churches and groups to try and figure out what is it I want to believe. And it really ultimately has come back to myself, the guru within. God is within us speaking. But astrology is a way that you can still have faith. You can have any belief system, but you're really just looking at the sky and going, well, if God created the planets, then and God created us, then maybe there was a reason we should be able to communicate to each other, through each other, and learn. And I used to love health and nutrition. Well, there's a whole branch of astrology that's on medical astrology. So you can learn about different body parts that are afflicted based on your astrology chart.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
I would not have thought of that, but sure.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'm
Fascinating.
intrigued.
Yeah. Me too.
So that's a whole different branch from what you offer,
It is. It is.
but
It's
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 not
so
something.
incredible.
So you're going to explore it and perhaps.
Yes, perhaps down the road, but right now I really love the evolutionary component because I'd like to help people understand their purpose because it took me so long to find mine.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the whole premise of my podcast is let's help
Hmm.
um, younglings, as I like to call them, figure out and how to listen to their soul purpose before they get to be my age. So it's how can we do that? Open them up and just listen to the whisper, and um, and it's okay to say, yeah, no, I don't think so, because it will not stop. Spirit will not stop whispering, and the whisper will get louder, and there will be a point, as I said earlier, where you are, hit upside the head, saying, okay, I really need to
Hmm.
make a right now and go down this road.
Yeah.
So, can you share with us your own personal story of spirituality and awakening?
Well, I would say it's funny because when I was 18 years old, I was working on a horse ranch in Illinois, and the woman was very spiritual, open-minded, in a way that my parents and other people I knew were not. And so she introduced me to astrology, numerology, all these mystical arts, and really the law of attraction and how your
Which
thoughts
you would
create.
not have been able to access that if you were not on the horse ranch.
Thank
See,
you. Yes.
the messages keep coming. Ah, I love this.
Yeah, and so I really, really look back and thank her for just planting again a seed of spirituality in me and the ability that I can create things myself. What? And and so when I was in my early 20s, still going down this path, I decided I was going to get a license plate that stood for full of life and spiritual energy, followed by number one, which is my life path in numerology. So I always look at this license plate. In fact, I brought it up here, not that everyone can see, but this is it. And so I've kept this as a reminder that my life is not supposed to be about a career or like all of these material concerns that some people have. It's about, am I living a spiritual life? Am I always connecting to the divine in some way? And astrology brings me closer to God, not further from it. So I think it's funny that people who might have a very religious background and are not interested in astrology, I read the Bible front to back. I visited every church there was, and guess what? I kept getting called to study astrology.
Exactly. There's the whisper of the soul, and the soul knows, and the soul is connected to spirit, and it's a divine messages. If we would just, shut up and listen. So you mentioned in your questionnaire that you were guided to study abroad in New Zealand. So
Yes.
was this before the horse training, after the horse training, in between?
Yeah, I would
I
say it was
mean,
in between.
New Zealand is not, California.
No, it's not. It was
Yeah.
wonderful. That was when I was 20 years old. So I was in college. I was earning my equine science degree
Ah,
from
okay.
Colorado State, and they had an opportunity for me to study abroad at the South Island in New Zealand. So it was amazing because what happened when I went there is I realized, wow, I know very little about the world and about people. And so it was just eye-opening to embrace different cultures and learn new, philosophies about life and travel with people and do adventures and learn in a school where everyone was I mean, many people there were from different countries. So I just, that opportunity changed me. I also had a hard breakup when I was there. So that also caused me to realize, wow, what I thought was going to happen with my life is now not happening. So what is it I'm really called to do? And at the time, it's just surrender. You just got to wait. You just got to wait this out and enjoy where you are. And I came back home and everything was different. I was definitely a changed person. So part of my spiritual growth was traveling abroad.
Very cool, very cool. And hence, you know, the United flight attendant that falls
Yeah,
into that category too.
it does.
Very
Yeah.
interesting how it just kind of meshes and it keeps us searching on the path
Yeah.
with unfortunately for most of us that are not aware that we are being led in certain directions because of opportunities that present themselves. And it's yeah, I'm fascinated just you know hosting this podcast and just having the different guests on that have all listened to their soul spirit and have brought them to wherever it is that they are. And the analogy that I like to use is, as far as religion goes, I like to say I'm a recovering Catholic, and there is I believe I don't believe there is a right or wrong. It's everyone is looking to get back to source. And the different religions are just a different path to get back to source. So it's not us, them, it's not you, me, it's
Right.
just we're all trying to, listen to our own spiritual wisdom and get back to source. Um, so it's really interesting. And what I'm wondering is there anything you can share with our listeners that they can, I guess, be more aware of daily? And I'm not
Hmm.
talking to go to the newspaper and, read
Yeah.
your horoscope type stuff.
Mm.
That's not, no. So what is there one thing that I can be more aware of going through my daily life that
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what I'm asking? Do you?
Yes, I do. I do. I believe that you are asking this. I think it's about, I would tell your audience, pay attention to synchronicities.
Hmm.
Follow the synchronicities in your life because they're not coincidences.
Right.
And if you write them off as a simple coincidence, you're going to miss an opportunity that could lead you down your right path.
Right.
And this is where you have to take your logical brain out of it. And you really have to trust your feelings. So follow the synchronicities.
Perfect. That is so profound, and I love that. And I want to thank you for joining us today. Anyone who wants to reach out to Jennifer to get your chart read or have questions, all of Jennifer's contact information will be in the show notes, so you can just click the link and find Jennifer there. As someone who has had her natal chart read by Jennifer, I do recommend it. It's really enlightening. Once you take a breath and say, okay, Jennifer is my translator, and she's going to translate this new language for me, which she does profoundly. It's really quite extraordinary. Um,
Thank you.
Anything else that you want to share with us before we close up?
No, just thank you, Terry, for having me on Soul Wisdom Traditions. I'm glad I got to be a part of this today.
Thank you, thank you. So let's see. So before we close up, what I'd like to do is, as I usually do, is read my fan of the week. And today's fan of the week is Eagle Spirit 6. And Eagle Spirit 6 writes, so deep and inspirational. It's great to hear stories that are relatable and feel like there are takeaways to apply to your own life. I feel like that's what I found here. So cool. So thank you, Eagle Spirit 6. I would love to connect with you if you'd like to reach out through Spotify or the website or Apple Podcasts so that I can have a conversation. I would love to do that. And if you want to be a fan of the week, just leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I'll add you to our ever-expanding list. And that concludes our episode for today. Thank you, Jennifer, for being here. Thank you all for tuning in to Soul Wisdom Transitions. And remember, as you navigate through the twists and turns of life transitions, trust in the wisdom of your soul. Embrace the lessons, honor the growth, and always remain open to the guidance that comes your way. Until we reconvene for our next soul-stirring conversation, may you continue to blossom into the highest version of yourself, embrace the beauty of your journey, and always be guided by the whispers of your soul. Thank you. Hey, Oscar.